Hello everyone, this is Rosemary and this is a journal I've been working on for about a month off and on, and I call this journal Flora's Journal. The reason I call it Flora's Journal is because this girl in the middle, I love her hat decorated with flowers and then the bouquet she is holding. And it really became the focal point of this cover. And I had been wanting to do, I'm trying to use lace on my covers just because something different. And so you see her picture is surrounded by lace that I had in my stash. Up here is a paper punch from Martha Stewart, but the rest is kind of from Blue Fern. Susan, the new owner, gave me a piece of lace right here. You can see it and it goes around. It's a wonderful piece for the, the spine of the book. And then here's another piece of Blue Fern right there. And you can see my ribbon, which is my usual button and ribbon closure. I use that, and I use some material right here with a butterfly you see up here, just a little whimsy, and I put some buttons, and this is a vintage button as well as this one down here, this little diamond one that I picked up at a thrift store. The flowers, which are a little bit outside my comfort zone, are also Blue Fern. And if you turn around here, this is what I've been searching with my friend Janie. We've been hitting thrift stores, and we found some wedding dresses. So the material is a satin, and then I had this piece of lace. So you see there's a little bit of a shine. You can kind of see the lace there, which I liked. It was very subtle, which was, and like I said, this lace on the end, and I decided to just keep it like that. So I think of this as a journal that was found in an attic, and it has come up to light, Flora's Journal. So again, here we go. It is a pretty large journal. It has a 2-inch spine. It has a detached spine right here, and it curved because I was using Artie Mae's technique for the curved detached spine, which was using a paper tube. So here we go. So this is the closure with the button and the lace, and you can either keep the ribbon like I try to do or retie it every time. And when you open it, you can see the detached spine right there. So and it has 3 signatures. This was an adventure for me of working with lace. Now the paper I used was Blue Fern, and it was Attic Charm. So this is why I think of this as a vintagey journal that you would find. And so you will see the main pages where I use my most elaborate pockets are Blue Fern paper, because it has a little thickness that makes it really nice to use for elaborate pockets. So this is Blue Fern paper, and so is this. And the line was called Attic Charm. And I have a small little tuck there. The story begins, and the flowers come from Tsunami Rose, because I thought the roses gave it that antique feel that I was looking for in this Attic Charm. So this paper here, you can see how, and I kept the little spine of it. What I did was I really like this because you have to cut, there's so much to detail in Blue Fern. So I wanted the roses, and then there was this with the mannequin, the sewing, I guess the sewing, whatever they used. And so I cut it out, I fussy cut it, and it became a pocket that you can see right there. And this beautiful tag came from my friend Merlene, that every so often she will give me some tags. And right here on the side is a little tuck, so you can tuck some more in there. So and this green lace here, it was basically white lace that I used the Distress Ink Peeled Paint because I love that little greenish color for vintage looks. And when we open this up, there's an envelope here, and this is some stationery because cards, you know, people used to write so much more at one time. And it is tied, and you can actually untie this seam, what is it? I don't want to call it a seam binding. And it's been, all the pink that you see is basically apricot, not avocado stained. It gives you this beautiful pink, vintagey pink. And so the envelope is glued in a way that allows this tag to fit in behind it, which is an Artie Mays freebie that she offered to the Junk Journals group. So there you see, it's a really pretty page. And so, like I said, I'm not going to say this anymore, but if you see this color, this is avocado stained. So I use Martha Stewart punch, and you'll see it throughout this journal. And just for a little added detail, I use my napkin decoupage just to give it a little randomness there. So those are my favorite things I like to use. And right here, this page came from a journal I picked up at a thrift store, and this is also a Blue Fern stamp, these two. And I use a napkin right behind it plus some stamps. I'm working with clustering because I really like the effect they give on there. So a little bit of stamping, napkin, and actual stamps go in there. Right up here you see the back, and you see a little flower applique with some lace. And this came from this page right here came from a catalog reproduction. My friend Karen said, tear as many pages as you want, which I did, took a few of them. And, you know, because the paper is kind of very fragile, I made copies, and instead of the dark brown, it came out this really nice color. So this is a little flap, this is a tuck, and this is the tag that I made from this, which I think fits right here really nice with this invoice. The invoice is rather thin, so I layered papers together, and here you see some napkin decoupage, and then this is some music paper, and I like to use papers like this every so often. And there's napkin, napkin, and this was the front of a music score. It had the piano because of piano music, so I did a little bit of a collage there to allow it for some journaling. Here you see the other side of the music paper, and I found this picture of this girl on Pinterest, so I backed it with a background I had and a frame and a doily. And then I had another printable of a program of dances, which I feel like, oh, you know how people used to dance and keep track, and here's just a little piece of scrap paper that goes in there to fit this romantic, oh, let's see, can I get it in, or I'm just gonna put it in there, yeah. It goes like this, right behind everything. And anyway, enough of that. This is a pocket, and it is on Blue Fern paper. Blue Fern paper is a little bit thicker, and it has a flap so you can journal right behind that. Lace trim. This is a printable that was in my stash, and this is just a tablet, a page from a tablet, and I picked these up at thrift stores also. So I can't tell you much other than it was probably like 2 or 3 little pages in there, and but it's so pretty. It just reminds me of something vintagey. And let me see, here's the other side of the Blue Fern paper, Attic Charm, and you see the punching a little bit clearer, and it's just a very soft color, a printable, old-fashioned printable, and I put a little portrait there that you could journal on. So I just thought, oh, pictures make a journal feel give it that personal vintage look. And the hummingbird paper came from a charity. What I did, besides line it because it's very thin, is I put some lace around it, and it looks like it's official stationery, but no, it's just a tablet that, you know, this charity sent. And on the back, you can see right here, you can also see some punching. And down at the bottom, you see a little bit of clustering I'm working. It's a tuck along with this picture. This is napkin. I put some lace right here along with some more on her shawl. And it just gives it a little bit more texture. And you can see right there. And this is the center of the signature, which I like to allow the people to do whatever they want with it. This was a little strip of paper that I had in my stash because I just love the roses. And if you can look closely, you can see some little flower rosebud leaves there. This is also stationary. And again, I layered it because of its thinness. You can see my punch made into a journal spot along with the portrait, and I want to think of it as the portrait of that girl you saw before that. And I left this plain just because I think it's just a wonderful thing for someone to journal on. This lace is also on Blue Fern paper. It came from a wedding dress. And here, I like this. This was some stationery envelope I received in a swap. And I've cut off the edges. And voila, there you have a wonderful little journaling spot. And I have my little butterfly to kind of keep it closed and add some more decoration there. This are some little crochet pieces. I think they're not real crochet, it's more like material. Anyway, and they were already in circles, so I just kind of folded it 3/4 of the way down and then put some seam binding right there. And here is a rose I had in my stash, and there's a journaling spot there for it. So it just, I think, is very pretty. Here on this side, on this music page, this is a little bag I made with napkin decoupage, the lace, and these two tags came in a swap. And I decided, oh, they're so pretty, vintagey, that I'm going to use them in this journal. And you can see a touch of blue to add on to it. This is also a, I participate in a lot of the junk journals, the chat group, and CT does a lot of these stashes where people just give, envelopes, all kinds of stuff, those swaps. And this is where I got this envelope right here and this tag. And they're supposed to be used for journals. I think I added some lace there. Here's a tag I added. And it is just very pretty, very fun. This is, again, another piece of paper that I like to add interest. And this is a napkin decoupage. And this is the rest of the napkin. When you kind of trim around, you have a thin little piece. And so that also is there. Here you see the invoice. You can see where I sewed it. And on this side, I doubled it because it's very thin. It's napkin decoupage is underneath. And here is a cluster with this lady, the rose, and a page, and this little stamp. And again, you see my punch at work, butterfly, and another rose, and they fit inside this cluster pocket right there. Some napkin decoupage on this journaling page. This page is basically blank, but I've added this journaling spot here to make make it interesting. Here is the last page of the signature, and this is a foldable that I saw on GI Kerr tutorial, where you fold up. You see all this wonderful journaling spot right here, and even this right here. So you can journal, fold it back in. Here is a little closure, and it is not the number of years in your life that count. It is the life in your years. And then I glued it so it is also a pocket This is some Prima Rose. It's a very old line. See my doily, I'm trying to do my layering. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't. And so this is the end of the first signature. Oh, and here again, you see this is Blue Fern paper, and again a pocket with some seam binding that I use that peeled paint. I just kind of dyed it with that because I like that green color, and a tag right there. This is the second signature. I wanted this journal to have 3 signatures, but when I made them, and I also didn't want it the spine to be any wider than 2 inches. So I came with a dilemma because it would have been over 2 inches. So what I did right here was I made a blank. Sorry about that. Move the camera. Let me move it back. Where the pages would be blank, which I think is kind of fun. And so there you see the Blue Fern paper. This is some leftover pieces. Even that little corner came from the front. And I just put a pocket right there. And again, as you can see, even though papers are plain, they can be very decorative. So you see the doily, a smaller page. You see the punch. Here's some lace. And this is the center right here. So there's about 5 sheets of paper right there. And I think it works. It's decorative, gives me that second signature, but at the same time, it doesn't add more thickness to this. So here we come to the third signature. And you can see this is I don't know, I might have had 8 sheets of Blue Fern paper. This is Blue Fern, and this is Blue Fern. And I saw this in a journal. And of course, when you see something, sometimes you can make it work. But I think she was using lace, and I just had this muslin with this little crocheted trim. And I made this muslin flower, and I can't remember whose video I watched on that. And then I added some lace down below, and I feel like it's a curtain, and you can see this girl is getting ready. And then it's also a pocket there that you could add something right there. I thought I had a tag, but I kind of just like it like that because, but you could add, it is a side loading pocket right here. But I kind of like that. It's just pretty. Sometimes pages need to be just pretty. All right, so let me move this a little bit more. This is some roses from Napkin Decoupage, which just look pretty just like that. But I added a printable. And this is a collage. This is napkin and a little bit of material, music in this picture. And I just kind of put it sideways, and it fits like this, and it's a pretty picture. And I do like that. And again, this is the hummingbird paper I talked about. Here's another cluster down below. And I added you know how people used to love movie stars magazines. So I add them in there just for fun. And on this punch, I added another little small cluster. I do like the clusters because they add so much without taking away from the page. And again, this is another Blue Fern paper. So you see a die cut right here, a crochet piece right there. And it's a pocket. And I think this is such a pretty printable. I just like that very much. And it goes in like this. You could probably add another tag in there quite easily. Okay, so we come here, and I have a doily piece up here, and everything is subtle. And I try to do this, and this is a tag, and this is another pocket that I learned from G.I. Kerr on one of her tutorials where you can just flip it up like this and journal. And not only can you just do it there, but you can open it up this way and see it all the way like this. So it's a huge printable that you can do whatever you want. Pull the little ribbons back and tie your bow, and no one would know it was there. So it's a fun little print. Okay, this is, again, pretty straightforward. I folded this. This is a printable from Pinterest. And I folded it there so that you know, it adds interest on both sides of the page. This is also very, very subtle right here. This is like a vellum sticker. And then I had some gold ribbon, and I tied a bow like a, and there are two places that it can become a tuck spot right there. And like I said, I do like to add pictures because it gives that a little bit more personal look to a vintage looking journal. This is a journaling card I made with napkin decoupage. And down here in the corner, this tuck is also a cluster. And this is also stationery. And on this side, these are some stickers, some border stickers right here. And then I made this girl. She's kind of like a little cluster right there, a little collage, and there's even a little tuck if somebody wanted to put a little tiny tag there. And this is a tag, some tsunami rose paper I had cut up, and I thought, oh, that looks perfect right there. This is some accounting paper, and I just left it as it is. And this is the center of the third signature. And it is a large envelope right there. And I cut it like I said before. I was going to cover Hallmark there. But then I remember my grandmother, when they would get a Hallmark card, they would get very, very excited. So I decided to leave it. The new owner can cover that up if they wish. And this is the front of the envelope. So both sides, you see how pretty these envelopes can look? And then again, the accounting paper. This is also from a tablet. I've talked to people, and it's lace trim, and there's a little butterfly right there. And then this is that vellum sticker with some corner pieces right there. And it says, here's a little verse: love bears, believes, hopes, and endures all things. Faith, hope, love abide these three, but the greatest of these is love. So again, kind of a little awkward sounding, but that is the little verse there. This is some stationery right there. And this is an envelope I made from a book page and napkin decoupage. You see some lace there and right there. And I did not add anything in here. But I like this because it can fit over and it doesn't take anything away from that. And it also is a decoration for this page right here. So the front of the envelope can be, you could put a picture, glue something on there. And on this page, this is also a purchase a collection of tsunami roses right there, because I love that vintagey look of roses, and it's a tuck spot. So again, these are just little touches that make a journal special. The journaling paper, this is this sticker with some napkin decoupage, and that makes it look like, wow, this was something else, but nope, just adding on to it. This is one of my favorite pages because of this bride. She's a printable, and I put her behind a frame and some lace. Like these are some souvenirs, and I have this tag: real love stories don't have endings. And this is also tsunami rose flowers. And on this is a Blue Fern stamp, and it is this little pocket. So this is gold, and it has some lace trim. And this is the Blue Fern paper with a doily. The doily just adds a little touch of texture. And I think this is a Pinterest, and I don't know, it looks like a menu. It's in French, so I can't tell you. And I don't know if this is an old or a modern picture, because they have too many expressions, and all the vintage wedding pictures I've seen, they're very solemn by our standards. So, but I thought it looked pretty. So this is one of my favorite pages in this journal because it just is pretty. I just like it. So, and here again, Blue Fern paper, and you see the doily. This is just a pocket. I added some lace up here. This is a, what do you call those? Anyway, it has a collage on there. My mother says this reminds me of her mother. She used to dress with the big hats. And so that's the little tag that fits in there. Some more stationery with some ribbon. And I decided to do this flip. I've seen flips, never added one to my journals. But I had this lace, and the lace is actually white with gold thread through it. So I avocado stained it, and it looks so pretty. I added the bird, and there you see the plane. So I guess that's how flips are supposed to work. And this also makes me laugh. It's one of those foldable pockets, and these guys, they're just fun. I like them. And you open it up, and it actually is a full sheet of paper. It's like kind of like making paper airplanes. So you could write on this. You probably would have to put something underneath it to finish writing. And then you can fold it back, and nobody would know your inner secrets. What was written there, it would be your private secret, and then they act as pockets. And I always think of that as Flora's. These were some friends of hers. And there it is. So, and this is the last page. And what I did was, oops, must have a little bit of glue there. It's one of the last things I added to it, so nothing like that. So this is the lace pocket. And a lace, this is printable, a little bit of a collaging. This is just a tag that I added, a tsunami rose. And this is the back cover. And this, instead of a tuck, I have a pocket. And like I said, Tsunami Rose has these beautiful roses that just kind of complement the Blue Fern paper right there. And this is the end of this journal. And like I said, it was a lot of fun outside my comfort zone because of all the embellishments. And I try to play with lace and all kinds of stuff. And it was a great deal of fun. So here's the ribbon closure. You can see 2 inches, and you can see the detached spine, and you can see Flora, and this is Flora's journal. Again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again.